I did I did my favorite sports movies, and I did baseball, football, basketball, and I know them two made my
Where your top?
basketball. Oh, they were definitely in my basketball list. But
All right, here we go.
yeah, whenever you're ready.
Well, here we are. And I'm admitting to the fact that I kind of suck this week. And I'll tell you why. I have been begging to get Tony on my show. Begging.
I don't know if that's a compliment or a.
It's a compliment. It's a compliment.
Okay.
And I am so woefully not prepared. I will admit to that. And the reason why I'm admitting to it is because there's actually a lot of sports news that's out right now, big stuff. And as it stands, I can ask Tony questions, but I don't know how much of a participant I'm going to be today. So this is going to be a real interesting hour.
Should I just ask you to leave now and just let me fill the hour?
Probably. You're listening to NewHavenIndependent.org, 103.5 FM, WNHH, New Haven. My name is Michelle Turner, and I am the host of the show. In studio with me, live, is Tony McClean. Current editor emeritus.
Unless you know something I don't know.
Of BASN.
Thank you.
I did it right.
Yeah,
I got BASN in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to talk about a couple of things because it's that time of year. Baseball is in spring training down in Florida.
In Arizona.
Although
it's cold. Although, believe it or not, it's actually like cold in Arizona for them. It's like 60 degrees.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like 60 degrees, right? So they're kind of freaking out because it's a little colder than what they want. Hey, Norma. Good. And we've got what Tony laughingly refers to as the underwear bowl. That's getting ready to happen.
No, it's already happened. The Underwear Olympics.
Okay.
Otherwise
Combine.
known as the NFL Combine.
Yep. And then from the Combine, we have free agency, right?
And then from
free agency, we have the draft. So, question becomes, and, we have the scandal, which is sort of not new if you're a person who follows sports. It's just that, I guess, the list of celebrity in regard to who got busted for white collar crime over the past couple of days in regard to paying off coaches at schools.
I was going to say, you say in private sector or this is.
But they're calling it a white collar crime.
Yeah, sure, of course.
And it's got celebrity, it's got CEOs, all these folks who paid off the different coaches at elite schools, elite programs to get their children into the school on teams who were not athletes. How about that? It's just crazy to me. And my good friend Babs mentioned something online about don't complain or don't talk to me about affirmative action now.
Oh, because that was look, if folks were still, again, given the climate, people want to look at, people want to, there's certain buzzwords that are basically argument starters. It used to be, you would talk about it, but now it's more about starting an argument more than anything else. And there's nothing worse than trying to argue with an ill-informed idiot.
Yeah.
And that includes the ones that inhabit the House and the Senate, but that's a separate 2-hour conversation in and of itself.
Hey, there's a lot of sisters up there now.
I won't this way.
We won't talk about politics.
Yeah. I'm not the person to talk about politics, but
we won't talk about politics.
It's this way. It's whether it's sports officials or entertainment officials. I mean, we haven't even mentioned that pious owner up in Foxborough.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
yeah. We got to talk about that briefly.
mm-hmm.
Because his encounter was 13 minutes, so you could call that brief, but he is definitely on tape.
Mm-hmm.
So,
where do you want to start?
I know. Where do you want to do it? Well, let's talk about the trade in the NFL, first of all, because we're also in the midst of free agency, right?
Mm-hmm. We had basically two of the top receivers in the NFL were traded within 72 hours of each other. Antonio Brown got traded. The former Steeler was traded to the Raiders. And just 24 hours ago, as we are taping this, the Giants traded Odell Beckham for a first, a third.
I can't believe, why would they trade Odell Beckham? What sense did that make?
And again, this is me speaking. Odell's a good player. I think he's gotten a lot of extra hype because he's in New York. And there's a lot of off the field stuff. I mean, a lot of that to me, I never get it. I never get caught up in that. See, I'm old school in the sense of I'm watching the game. I don't really. I mean, what they do on the side is really none of my business to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in this TMZ, National Enquirer, regular mainstream news now, all of that stuff plays into it. And Odell didn't do himself any favors by being in the limelight, being in New York. It makes the Giants look silly because they just signed him to a big contract, which they thought were going to whatever. But you always got the feeling that there was still some underlying feelings toward him with management. And you have a new guy, not a new guy, but basically they brought in a new GM last year, Dave Gettleman, and I guess what they're trying to do is to clean house to a certain extent because they let a bunch of the defensive players go. One of their top defensive players, matter of fact, signed with Washington. So now they had a chance last year to, they're the second pick overall last year, third pick, I'm sorry. And they had a chance to draft a lot of people thought they were going to draft a quarterback. They wound up drafting arguably the best player out of the draft, Saquon Barkley, and he showed out. He was Rookie of the Year in the NFC. But, they're still trying to find an heir apparent to Eli. And, again, you've got a decent quarterback crop coming out this year. Clearly the best, the kid from Ohio State is up there. Also, Kyler Murray from the Heisman Trophy winner from Oklahoma. His name's been mentioned as well as the top quarterback. And, they have another top 4 or 5 pick.
But Tony.
Yeah.
If I'm somebody coming out of college, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would it not, one of the things that I would look at, would I not be interested in who you have on the team already?
Oh, of course.
Because at some point, there's certain people I want to play with, right?
Exactly. Well, see.
And so, to me, the Giants don't do themselves any favors by constantly dismantling teams.
And see, the thing is, the Giants have sort of disillusioned their fans into thinking that they're still contenders.
Right.
And see, now, to me, this...
And you're a Giants fan.
Oh, I'm not a Giants fan.
You're not?
Oh, God, no. I don't root for any... The only local teams around here that I root for are the Knicks and the Mets. I don't do the Giants. Look.
So who's your football team?
I root for the Carolina Panthers.
Once you said it, it's like ding, 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 bells went off. Yeah, okay.
That's another personal hell. That's another personal hell that I have to deal with.
Yes.
But after all those years of being forced to watch the Jets, Giants, and Patriots, I can't do it. Can't do it. But clearly, to me, they're saying that they're rebuilding. But see, my thing is,
haven't they been rebuilding the past 10 years? Dang,
you got to remember they did make the playoffs no less than 2-3 years ago under their head coach then. But see, literally, put it this way, literally it was like the curtain coming behind the Wizard of Oz and come to find out that this guy was a paper lion. So they fired him. They brought in another coach who was on this is his second year. But let's put it this way. Even when they made the playoffs, there were people that thought they were sort of a paper lion.
Yeah.
So it seems like that they've been like rebuilding. It seems like they're in the 5th year of their 2-year rebuilding plan,
right,
in a sense.
Right.
So,
and to me, it doesn't make any sense because, granted, you've got one of the largest metro areas in the world, right? So technically, you don't need somebody in Indiana to follow the Giants. Okay.
Yeah, and see, I don't think they're a national team. I mean, I think they definitely have fans on, but I don't think they're a national team like, say, the Steelers, like the Cowboys, like the Raiders, the Packers.
But they don't. In a way, they don't have to be.
Well, yes and no.
Because I mean, they're in a metro area. So you got millions of people who are wearing Giants jerseys. Who cares if the cat in Florida don't?
Yeah. Well. See, that's always been that sort of like New York sports mentality is like New York is New York, and everything north is Bridgeport.
Right.
You know, that's been. But see,
right.
That's been their own little xenophobic arrogance in regards to it's New York. You know, like you always hear the thing in the NBA of, well, you know, you have to have a successful team in L.A., Boston, and New York for the league to thrive. I wouldn't tell that to Golden State, Chicago, and who are the other teams that Indiana have won the titles over the last few. You know, the whole New York sports scene. Again, it depends on where you live. Now, I've always felt like you don't necessarily have to have a great team or a good team in New York for your league to thrive. Would it help? Sure. Because, you know, I always hear it from a lot of my, you know, fellow Knicks fans where it's like, you know, if the Knicks get good, it helps out the league. And the league's doing pretty good
without the Knicks.
With the Knicks basically being, you know, in witness protection on the field right now. So it again, it depends on your perspective. But see, because Beckham was one of those guys where he was seen, you know, we remember his career, you know, college wise, and then when he came to New York, that added even more.
Yeah.
Now he's going to Cleveland. He's playing with the guys that he used to play with in college, and one of his former receivers coach at LSU.
Yeah.
And they're already been overhyping Baker Mayfield. So I actually heard the words Cleveland Browns Super Bowl in a sentence yesterday, and I was thinking, boy, I must either be asleep or I've been drinking too much grape Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Or in this case, orange Kool-Aid. But it's a bit much. But you know.
So talk about the significance of the trade of the guy from Pittsburgh to.
Well, the funny thing, and you know, he's been sort of like, I guess, for lack of a better word, has been sort of a show off over the past years. Great player, but you know, a little bit of a, you know, he's got, you know, they always call him, there's a little bit of diva in all of these wide receivers.
In all of them.
But
since Dion.
But the thing with him is, after he was traded to Oakland. I mean, should I still call them Oakland? Well, that's a whole other story.
Well, I mean, they were Oakland then.
Yeah, well, see, they don't even have a place to play this year, but that's another. I don't want to go too far. Make a long story short, he got they basically tore up his contract and gave him a raise. And apparently after Beckham was traded, apparently like the third word out of his mouth was, "Oh, we got to renegotiate." If he's going to, you know, I mean, he's not going to turn down the trade, but he's already playing, you know, or he was already, you know, using the R word, as they like to say, in the one, and so he wants to renegotiate. Now, mind you, he's a year in his new deal with the Giants. So, and of course, he saw what Antonio Brown was able to do. So, like the old commercial, "What can Brown do for you?
Right.
Let me see what it can do
for me."
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first thing that came to my mind as things were playing out yesterday, is because knowing how Odell, you know, likes the limelight and, you know, whatever. I mean, is he a good receiver? Yes. I think a lot of it is New York hype. It'll be interesting to see, because he's in it's a smaller market, but Cleveland football fans are very loyal. And the Browns are huge, even though they've struggled mightily since coming back. It's a big put this way. If Cleveland winds up being a successful team, that's big for Cleveland, especially I guess. And I try to avoid it, but especially since a certain kid from Akron wound up going to California like the Beverly Hillbillies.
So, what should we expect out of the combine?
Well, no, the combine's done. Combine's done.
Okay.
Now you're gonna see like different, various pro days, and then the draft is basically we're about a little over a month away from the draft. So now, put it this way, the only people who will be lying to you more than Congress and the House now are going to be NFL GMs, because they're going to try to say who they will not pick, who they may not pick. That's
yeah.
usually
So
what's
I guess
happening.
that goes back to my original question: what should we expect out of the combine? Who did well, and
who's
going to end up in the
the combine
in the draft?
Put it this way, the combine is one of the most non-events in all of professional sports.
Why?
Basically, and that's why it gets dubbed the Underwear Olympics. Basically, you're seeing guys do 40s, doing calisthenics, and they use that to sort of gauge folks. I mean, if you ever have sat and watched the combine, and there are, put it this way,
there are people who
put it this way. Anytime I ever think that I don't have a life, I think about the folks that actually sit and watch or either tape the combine, because it's a put it this way, it's part of the NFL's hype machine for them, and it's part of them pushing product 365 24/7.
Okay.
And when you have the NFL Network pushing it with you,
you're saying that they need something. They need something to keep the channel going.
This way, I was telling the guy earlier today. Basically, NFL free agency, which officially started yesterday. To me, they've got that bridge programming between the combine, which just ended, and the draft, which is next month. So they can so it becomes a thing of hype,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going to know who's the first pick no more now than we do, say, 2-3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But they're going to, there'll be all sorts of, put it this way, think of, I guess, the road leading up to like elections, and they talk about, put that in football terms. That's basically what the next.
That's where we are.
Yeah, pretty much.
Baseball has been very, very good to no one right now because the weather in Florida and Arizona is a little cold.
Mm-hmm. Don't tell it to Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. They just got a couple of bucks. So it's been good. But it's spring training. Everybody. You're basically trying to put teams together. And the thing is, and now they were toying with trying to quote unquote speed up the game.
Yeah.
They were using this.
And is that because people like me are like, oh my gosh, I can't watch this. But at the same time, there are purists who say that's the way the game is played. Look, regardless of what you think of it, that's baseball.
Baseball has been slow, methodic, and boring for years. I think even if they tried to speed it up a little bit, I think it would mess with the game to a certain extent. I mean, there's certain things you can do to speed up the game, and I
shorter
think
innings.
No, well, see what's different. See, the thing is, with all of these other sports, they've never had to change the way the game was played to a certain extent.
Yeah.
To generate fan interest. Now, it's interesting because with this new league that just started, the new football league, the Alliance, they don't have kickoffs.
They just start.
Yeah, they literally, it's
line up.
They start up, and you have to after touchdowns. Now you have to go for 2.
All right. So, what? How's it decided who gets the ball, or it just go?
They still
coin toss.
They still do the coin toss, but
okay.
They just start. I guess they start at the 20. They basically just start at the 20 and you go from there.
Okay.
And see, and I don't want to turn this into all football, but they use the excuse of, well, the most injuries happen on the kickoffs.
Yeah.
And I would say, tell that to an offensive lineman that has to do, or defensive lineman that's in the games for like, say, 30, 40 plays at a time. And, And, I mean, it's put this way. It's the league's way of sort of covering their butt in regards to the whole concussion issue that they still sort of skirt around. They try to throw money, sort of like a current politician who was formerly a businessman who just tries to throw money at all the problems and thinks that they'll go away. But I watch it. The new leagues actually has been pretty decent, at least for me. I like it. I know it's been.
What is it that you like?
Not a whole lot of pretentiousness. It's actually just about football. I mean, the players, and again, no, the players aren't. You may not know as many of the players. There may not be as much, and a lot of it is just familiarity. But I think a lot of it is just, you just don't know the players. It's decent football. I mean, football is football. And look, after that Super Bowl, which I think some people just woke up a couple hours from. It's the NFL's got really nothing should be like have his chest out. I mean, it's good. Look, it's always going to be popular because it's the NFL, but they've got problems. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and I mean, but there are. I guess we've become so instant in this society.
Almost too much.
That, in sports which are built to either have a fast side or a slow side, or there are parts of the game that slow down because of the way the sport is played, it's almost like people want it how they want it, as opposed to respecting the rules of the game and how the game is played.
And see, there's also, and I hate to say it, but it has to be the influence of now. I guess they call it esports, where you actually
you get to control the game.
See, the thing that gets me is that these guys actually, some people actually consider them athletes. I'm like,
wow.
Look. I know my playing days were put this way. I was a baseball guy. I knew at a young age that I wasn't going to be the next Bob Gibson or the next whatever. But I got into this field or whatever. But now you literally have folks that, because they can play the sport on their computer, are considered superstar athletes. And
which is, I guess that's generational. I think that's weird.
You know what? If that's generational, I want no part of it, because
I think that's weird.
Put it this way: for all the whatever we say about Beckham is an athlete,
right?
Beckham ain't sitting at his keyboard,
And I just listened to a show on Sirius XM coming back from DC yesterday, and there was a young lady on who is a W-2 player.
Yeah, it was a young. I think it was a young black girl.
Yeah,
she quote unquote became the first, I guess, prominent black woman to break into this, and I'm like,
but she's a former athlete, physically.
Yeah, but
what's
I don't put this way. Look, I know when we as black folks break into something that's important, but I'm sorry, I'm like,
you don't see it as being. You see it as being more virtual as opposed to.
I'm if it whoop-de damn do. You're playing you're playing on your mouse. I mean I don't the fact that there is a fraction of folks that would look at them in the same breath as they would look at, say, Beckham or Seth Curry or any of these. I'm like, no, I'm not. Nah, if If it means I'm the old man of the mountains and don't want them painted, so be it. I'll be that guy. I'll be that guy.
All right. So we're moving into what's called the award season.
Yeah.
NHL, NBA, March Madness, all getting ready to kind of come 1, 2, 3, and then no sports in America technically for a couple of months. I mean, you got baseball and you got soccer
and the WNBA.
Yeah, and the WNBA. You're right. So, what's going to happen in the NHL? Which I am not all that familiar with. I'll admit to that.
Oh no. I like hockey. I'll watch hockey. It's pretty much a smorgasbord. There's not really a clear cut team this year. There are a lot of good teams. Washington is the defending Stanley Cup champions.
Yes.
They'll definitely be in the mix.
That's the Washington Capitals, right?
Yes. Yeah. They won the cup last year. They're defending champs. They'll make the playoffs again. The Islanders.
Who's the contender? Because, I mean, I know the Islanders usually...
the Islanders are actually having a good season this year.
Yeah, they're usually either in or out.
The Rangers are not going to make it. The Bruins will be in it, if you're talking locally. In the West, you've got your usual suspects like Calgary and Nashville. In the East, Pittsburgh is still in it. Boston. Let me see who else. I know Philly is making a run for the last spot in the East as well, and even our old buddies, I call them the Her Whalers. They're in
Carolina. Carolina Hurricanes.
They're in the mix. They're in the mix for the East as well. See, the NHL. To be honest with you, the NHL basically plays an 80-game exhibition season to get down to the playoffs. So when the playoffs start, that's really the regular.
That's really the regular season.
They just played 80 games just to okay.
Let's get to this part.
Yeah, exactly. And sadly, it's starting to become that way now in the NBA to a certain extent.
I will tell you, I'm very disappointed that the NBA does not advertise on free TV for games like it used to.
Yeah.
Because I think you're still cutting out a portion of folks who are not going to be able to subscribe to watch games.
Well, that's one of the leagues, and maybe the most out of the big four, that literally sell themselves out to non-traditional stuff because they're the. I mean, maybe the MMA does a little bit more, but a lot of that is by nature. But even but in that same vein, even MMA has more stuff on free TV than you see the NBA. Now the NBA, look, ABC does their Saturday night show. Now they do a Sunday showcase, and of course, they'll have the finals. The games won't start until 10 o'clock, but that's a whole other story by itself. But it's their, they capitulate to their audience because their audience mainly watches their games on a non-traditional basis. People will get the, people will have the. I guess there's this what is it? NBA why do I forget the name? I know NHL is center ice, MLB is extra innings. I forgot what NBA League Pass. That's what that is.
Yes, it's League Pass. I didn't know that's what you were talking about. Yeah.
You can and see, much like how the NFL does the Sunday ticket, you can watch you can get the whole block for the year.
Right.
You can pay monthly, or you can watch individual teams. So if you're a masochistic Knicks fan, you can spend X amount of money every night to watch a Knicks game.
Yeah, and and maybe it's a sidebar conversation because, it's sort of a done deal, but I just really think that it cuts a lot of people out. And hey, look, this is business, right?
Sure.
It's big business. We all know that. But I just feel like
it's just the funny thing, and see, that's why watching baseball sort of do is a lot of the leagues basically have just turned. If you're basically over 30 in a lot of cities, people look at you, like you've got one eye in a sense. And a lot of these leagues have, sold their soul for the almighty dollar. And look, in a capitalistic society, you can't be mad at them because, supply and demand and all that other stuff that we ignored in economics class back in the day. But there comes a price at some point, because I will always say, and this is why it was easy for me to sort of boycott the NFL. There's other between YouTube and other things, there's other ways that you can get into these sports. And if it means having to, you don't want to necessarily live in the past, mind you.
Right.
But I know myself, I try not to bash the contemporaries too much. But there are some things I will draw my line in the sand and just say, nah, I won't go there.
I won't do that.
I won't go there. And unfortunately, we're seeing more of that in these sports that we've grown up, watching, sadly.
You're listening to the show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We're streaming live on TuneIn Radio and newhavenindependent.org. We are also streaming live video on Facebook Live. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent, or just go to your own Facebook page and look us up. This is the show. My name is Michelle Turner. I have Sports Guru and Editor Emeritus of BASN Sports. I know. I'm good, right?
It's newsroom, but I don't care anymore. I just don't care.
Tony McClean. And I thank him so much for making this a special edition, as we are usually not on at this time. But I had to get him in the studio because there's just too much going on. All right. My Lakers.
Good intentions. I still think in the long I knew this year the best that they could possibly do was maybe a 7th or an 8th seed. I think once the injuries start to kick in, and I don't think they expected LeBron to have missed as much time,
as many games as he did, yeah,
and Lonzo as well,
right? So
it's predictable, but see, again, the funny thing is that everybody invested, because when LeBron decided to go to LA, all of a sudden the Lakers went from being on national TV, I think 15 times last year, to being on going into the season at least 40 times.
Yeah.
And now people are sort of like backtracking. I was like, I don't want to watch this train wreck.
Right.
But they're not. But even as bad as it, I still think that there's stuff to be.
Listen, I'm thinking that folks still have time to heal, because technically we're not going to see no playoffs till June. Everybody knows that. So, between now and May.
Well, see, they shut down Lonzo and Ingram. So that's a big chunk of their
That's a big chunk.
There's only so much, Kuzma and all these other guys can do. Let's put it this way. I can, and I'm not just saying this because you're a fan. I see where the direction that they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you buy into the rumors / lies that they've been saying about guys who are supposed to be coming there, you got to figure they're going to get somebody. I mean, that's what the 6 Knicks fans, including myself, that are left in the state of Connecticut, that's what we're hoping for this free agency. We're hoping, if there's some way they can get Durant or the Brow or Leonard, great. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't mind seeing them go after somebody like Kemba Walker.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if Charlotte, and plus, I don't think that bald-headed guy from the Bronx is going to want to do any deals with the Knicks. But
yeah,
stranger things have happened. But no,
yeah, stranger things have happened.
The thing, see, everybody is preparing because the whole thing this year was this is basically in many people's eyes the last hurrah for the Warriors because Thompson's a free agent.
I was going to say,
Durant's
folks' contracts
agent.
are up.
Draymond's a free agent, and Boogie.
I think Draymond's gonna go.
Well, see, again, there's if you're reading between the tea leaves, they're not going to be able to sign all of them. It's going to be
it's going to be difficult to assign all of them or re-sign rather.
Unless a bunch of them want to take the league minimum, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah. So
somebody's got to go. I mean, more than people more than likely are thinking that Thompson's going to walk.
Mm-hmm.
The Durant rumors started even the day after he signed. So you got to take.
But where else is he going to go besides LA? And he ain't going to do that.
Well, and see, there again, you got these lunatic fringe Knicks fans that think that he's going to come there and see. No disrespect. I've seen this movie before because remember LeBron was supposed to come here too.
Right. Exactly.
And we wind up getting Stoudemire. No disrespect to Stoudemire.
Right, but it didn't work the way that everybody thought it would.
Let's put it this way. It's a gamble, but I think it's a good enough gamble because there are enough guys out there where they can do some stuff. Like I said, in a perfect world, they get one of those guys. Now a lot of people think that if they were to get Davis, he would be able to attract folks, or if they were to get Durant, they'll be able to attract folks.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to see one of them come here first. Now, if your boy Phil was still there, I would be like, this ain't happening.
It wouldn't happen.
But, Fizdale and Mills and Scott Perry, so far, they've gotten a decent cachet in the league.
Well,
for whatever it's worth. I mean, it's clearly they're taking the old Sixers models to just stink and hopefully free up cap space.
Well, you know what? And the other thing right now with LA is that Magic supposedly, allegedly is looking for a new coach. I hope it's not him because they're talking about getting rid of Luke Walton.
Yeah. See, the problem with Walton is I just don't know how good of a coach he is.
And I think that's everybody's concern.
Yeah.
But, coaches make a team, players make a team. Sometimes you have teams that don't necessarily need a lot of coaching because you've got these athletes who pretty much want to play the game. You just give them the play. You don't have to do, real direction.
But you still,
and I think
have to coach though. Cause see,
you still have to coach.
As much hell as I gave Phil as a GM, and he was an awful GM, but I don't want to get into all that. But he did sort of brand the formula for that bridge between regular season and playoffs, and it was successful.
Right
now, he started smelling himself a little bit them last 4 or 5 years, which is why I think a lot of people sort of whatever with him. But it's tough because you look at the guy in Boston. Now, 2 years ago, everybody was talking about him being a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're struggling a little bit.
Yep.
They're not, because there's a faction of folks that think last year's run without Kyrie was a detriment instead of a positive.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's folks that think they may have peaked. I don't think they've peaked. I still don't think they've hit their stride yet. I think with them, they sort of have to they still don't really have an identity to me.
Yeah, and it's going to take them a minute to find it.
And see, you don't want to be doing that.
At this point in the year.
This time of the year is, again, that's what the regular season is for. The regular season is supposed to get you ready for when the games, because see, I always tell folks, you can tell the difference between a regular season game and a playoff game strictly by how defense is played. that nice little 15-foot jumper you got on in January becomes somebody in your face come May and June, because everything is all about half court, and it becomes like football in the sense where every possession counts. So the fact that they're sort of still trying to learn themselves
is not good.
It's got to be troubling. And to be honest with you, that's where the coach comes in.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be able to kind of net them together.
Yeah.
And create that team. But what I'm saying about Luke Walton is, I'm not so sure if he's got a fair shot. I mean, you know, you got folks coming in with all the hype like Alonzo Ball, right? And so you pull all these young guys together and you come up with a fairly decent team.
Sure.
Okay? And you got a young coach, somebody who's got the last name of Walton, but has played the game, has done pretty well as a player.
Mm-hmm.
And now he comes in.
And knows the culture
of Los Angeles.
And of that team, and especially because he was there for, he was there for the Kobe and Shaq feud.
Right.
So he knows.
So he knows the culture.
But
But the other piece in that is now you add LeBron James to the mix. And so is this somebody who is being given a fair shot? Because if you have supposedly the greatest player of all time in this era on your team, and you don't have extensive coaching experience, do you blame him for the rocks that they're hitting?
And don't forget Magic kicking him in the knees.
Yeah, because the article that I read initially looked like Magic was going to coach, and I was like, please, God, no.
Yeah.
Please don't let him coach.
I'd rather see them bring the Magic show back than have him be on the sidelines again. Let's just put it that way. But
oh my gosh.
I don't think he'll coach. I think he saw I don't personally, physically, mentally, I don't think he could do it.
Yeah, he may not be ready.
I don't know. No. But and see my thing with Walton is, now people made a big thing about how Walton was there with the Warriors when Kerr was sick and the team played well. But again, to me, that sort of goes back to what you were saying about, I mean, what was he? I mean, you got Curry, you got so how much really good? See, that's the thing with me. I don't know just how good a coach Luke Walton really is, and to throw and the fact that he was thrown into this Bermuda Triangle, whatever. I know even less more about him, but so because they're struggling, the knee jerk reaction is, oh, it's his fault,
right?
But I can't.
I think
I can't put this all on Walton.
I and I don't either, and I think it's unfair that they're starting to look at it like, well, he's not doing what he's supposed to do.
But see, here's the but. Because it's the Lakers, and granted, it's not like that win or die sort of thing, like with the Yankees or say with the Cowboys or with the Red Sox or whatever. But that being said, the Lakes, and probably more so the fans in LA than the national fan base that they have, it's been a long drink of water between being, I mean,
I'm a long suffering just like you're a long suffering.
But see, your long suffering is, look, I'll take your long suffering but see, here's the thing. At some point, the Lakers were the second team in LA, and of course there are Laker fans that thought that there'd be an apocalypse before the Clippers would replace the Lakers as the number one team in LA
as far as ticket sales. Yeah,
it's sort of like Knicks fans now having to realize that the Brooklyn Nets are the best team in New York, and not them. So, but that's on that thing.
Yeah,
but it's let's put it this way: And see, the thing also is, remember, they're in the top heavy conference. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
When you know.
But I mean, they're in a top heavy conference. You know, the West. Up until recently, the East is finally beginning to catch up as far as because the East used to have like a slower game, and you know, it was kind of painful to watch from time to time. Whereas the West, they showboated, they moved, they were fast, they hit their free throws. You know, it was a game in the West.
Sure.
Now I think we're both on that par. It's balanced out.
It's balanced out, but. But because the Warriors are who they are,
right?
The Warriors are still that traditional. I mean, you know, it's funny now. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, otherwise known as Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith, basically said Portland's gonna represent the West this year. So Portland is already dead now after that.
Are you saying it's like the Sports Illustrated cover?
It's worse because look, unless I look at it like this, unless Curry, Thompson, and Boogie show up pregnant during the playoffs, I don't see it happening. I mean, they're still talking about how Houston, you know, like they're playing Houston tonight. And as we're taping this, and it was making out the big thing about how, they've owned them during the regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what happened last May when they had the games? And yeah, you could say, yeah, Chris Paul was hurt, whatever. Look, you had a game 7, and you still couldn't come through.
And you couldn't come through.
Enough already. But again, let's put it this way, because it's the quote unquote their last hurrah, that might be a rallying point. But can somebody beat them in a 7-game series this year? Possibly. Is Portland the team that's going to do it?
No.
Again.
Unless, like you said, you know, something really rains down on them.
Put this way. I've seen that movie. It's like Titanic. At the end of the day, the boat sinks.
All right. Last but not least, because we're heading toward the upside of the clock. Mr. Kraft.
How can I say this without offending folks?
Try.
It's all put this way. It's always the ones who try to come off the most pious that have the most to hide.
But now, and I'm gonna say this, and New England folks will probably be mad with me.
They're gonna be mad anyway, so go ahead and say it.
But a team that is known for not being that pious, right? Despite what the news writers, sports writers say, the content carriers
put it this way,
in this area say.
It's, you know what? It's kind of hard to listen to them be pious about that team when they're kissing their ass in the middle of the game. So, but go on.
But I was not surprised. I'll put it to you this way. I'm not surprised, primarily because here's somebody who has wealth and power, and like Jimmy Jones expects it to go his way. Period. He's quieter than Jimmy Jones because that's that whole New England stiff upper lip sort of thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't see it being any less bravado.
No, it's funny. Now, Goodell has always talked about, you know, guarding of the shield. And we know how quick he is to jump on the players. Mm-hmm. Now, no less than a few years ago, the owner for the Indianapolis Colts was basically doing his best Breaking Bad impersonation in real life. You know, they found him, you know, amphetamines all over the place, $30,000, and he was walking left-handed. And I believe he got like a 4 or 5 game suspension. Now, if we're going to say the players, if you want to make an example of players, then I understand that. But shouldn't the owners be held to a higher esteem? Now, look, I'm not saying take the team away from him or whatever. But see, the thing here, the thing that people are sleeping on here is the craziest thing is it's not about the crazy thing about it is it's not even about the sex. We're talking about someone who's being implicated with child trafficking.
Yeah, I was going to say,
and see,
that's what makes the difference.
And see, that's the thing.
I was going to say the human trafficking aspect of this is absolutely horrible.
Now, and I'll just come right out and say it. Human trafficking as opposed to dogs. They put Mike in Leavenworth for dogs.
Yep.
What in the hell are you going to do with Kraft if you find out that he's involved in child trafficking?
Yeah.
You can't give him 4 games and expect us to just say, "Oh, that's about right."
That's okay. It's acceptable. You know,
I'm not and the racial double standard goes without saying here.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, all this you basically tried to blackball a man who his biggest crime was that he was bringing to light the killing of unarmed black men.
Yeah. And
you made him out to be like he was, Hitler, Mussolini, and all that, and the same thing. But Robert Kraft, he is, this is
caught in human trafficking,
and all of a sudden you turn into Helen Keller and Marcel Marceau all at the same time. Come on. And look, there's always going to be somebody that's going to say, "Well, no, there is no well."
Right.
There is no well.
There isn't one. But there's no exceptions in this.
Yes.
There's no exceptions. No exceptions. None. All right, Tony.
All right, I've made enough people upset now, so I'm satisfied.
You happy?
Yeah.
You happy you had this vehicle to put those ideas out there and give people like coronaries?
Look, the worst thing I ask you to do is think, and as far as I know, at least now, that's still not illegal yet. So
that's a Parliament Funkadelic line.
Yeah, but it's so true though, ain't it?
It is. So I'm holding my letters up because I got back yesterday from Delta Days at the nation's capital. Delta Sigma Theta sorority members.
Can I ask what? Did you get to the museum?
No.
Oh,
did not get to go. Because we worked our tails off all weekend. We were in plenary sessions, and then we hit the hill hard, i.e. Capitol Hill.
Probably worked hard
yesterday.
Probably worked hard more than the people that have to be there 24/7.
So it was good to visit state reps, not state reps, but our U.S. representatives.
Mm-hmm.
The Connecticut delegation did a good job of showing up and showing out. And kudos to Soros all across the country who will take back the initiatives that were discussed, what the plans are, what the playbook is, back to the communities and bring it to light. So shout out to my sorority for Delta Days at the nation's capital. That's why I got my shirt on today. But Tony, Mr. McClean, I have to have you back.
You know where I'll be.
I know where you'll be. And this has been the show. 103.5 FM, WNHH. You've been listening to it, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and newhavenindependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com, New Haven Independent, or just go to your Facebook page and look us up. Harry, thank you as usual for being accommodating and putting up with me. And shout out to all my Pisces friends. I got so many Pisces friends and birthdays this month. Jeeba Nutley. Just want to say happy birthday. All right. See you next week. I believe we're going to have the Elm City Youth Club on from the National Negro Council of Women, I think.
Ooh.
I know it's business and professional women. I got to get it right. It's been a long day, y'all.
Would you write these things down?
I know. But you know what? My memory used to be good. So I'm still thinking that it is wrong. But the Elm City Youth Clubs will be here next week. So do give a listen, all right? Because you never know who's going to be on the show. Thank you. Nighty-night. Whew. Clear. Down.
Could have done another hour.
I know. Real easy.